பேரலை நேயர்களுக்கு வணக்கம். நீண்ட இடைவெளிக்கு பிறகு மற்றும் ஒரு ஆங்கில நேர்காணல். இன்றைக்கு நம்மோடு திரு ஜோகா சிங் அவர்கள் இணைந்திருக்கிறார். அவர் அரசியல் செயற்பாட்டாளர், மொழியுரிமை செயற்பாட்டாளர். பஞ்சாபிலிருந்து நம்மோடு பேசுவதற்காக இணைந்திருக்கிறார். விவசாயிகள் பிரச்சனை மற்றும் அங்கு இருக்கக்கூடிய அரசியல் நிலவரம் பற்றி அவரோடு பேசலாம். Sir, good morning, sir. It's happy to have you on screen.
Morning, yeah. Vanakkam, everybody.
Vanakkam, sir. So we have seen that yesterday Prime Minister Modi repealed the 3 formulas and he also regret for that. But in that he is mentioning that I can't explain the goodness these bills will infer to the farmers. So that only I am refraining myself from this. He mentioned that. How can we understand that statement? Isn't it arrogant?
See, how can we explain anything which doesn't have any explanation? It should be explainable because it's going to affect in a negative way, very seriously, the farming and the farmers community. So how can they be convinced? And they know it better than anybody else. So I think still they have not accepted that these bills were wrong, or these laws are wrong. They just take it's kind of political arrogance, I would say. They are not able to submit to the fact that these laws are wrong.
As of now, it is widely discussed that due to the upcoming Punjab and Uttar Pradesh elections, Modi is doing that. So, what will be the effect of this formulas repealing in the upcoming Punjab and Uttar Pradesh and other state elections?
See, I think in a way it is a victory of the political opponents of not only of farmers, is the opposition also opposed to the BJP party. And they thought that by taking these laws back, they will be able to reduce the damage which has been done to the BJP political prospects. But I don't think they are going to gain anything out of it. It's not only the laws, I think, but a little transgressing into other area. I would say these laws have two aspects. One is that how they are going to affect farming and the farmers. That has been debated and discussed at great lengths since 1 year. But the other aspect, the ideological or political sort of mindset which these laws are product of, that's more serious. That should be reflected on, discussed upon, and that has far more serious consequences than even these laws. See, I would like to point out to the two particular aspects of these laws. One is that agriculture is a state subject, and the union government cannot make any laws on that. But in spite of that, the union government has transgressed into the states' rights, and they have framed these laws, which is a violation of the Indian Constitution. They took advantage of a clause which is for trade in foodstuffs, not the marketing of crops or grains, and it's a kind of it's a very mischievous, I would say, that it's a violation of Constitution, and that it is an encroachment on the state side. And secondly, you see, these laws were passed in Rajya Sabha by bulldozing the opposition. All the opposition party demanded a vote on the floor, but they were denied. And voice vote, speaker given a ruling that those are passed by the voice vote. This is very draconian, and it omens very bad, very negatively for the Indian democracy. So that's why the mindset which these laws are product of, the politics these laws are product of, that's very serious, and that has to be taken care of. And that kind of politics is not, I would say, that which is fitting for Indian geopolitics. See, India is a multinational country. So many nationalities live here. we are at least four or five races, not only nationalities. We are four or five races. So we need a political structure which is genuinely federal, where all these nationalities and regions, they feel that they are equal partners in the this political setup. Any transgression on that count will have very serious repercussion for the Indian Union, for India, and for all of us. So that's why I consider these laws from that point of view, the way they have violated the federal principle. That's more consequential politically and in other ways also for all of us.
As you have mentioned, even though the protest is stating to repeal the three formulas, the basic ideology they are protesting is the land is ours and we have right on that, and the states have right on that, and you cannot bring in someone, some corporate companies to cultivate whatever we have in our land. That is the core idea the farmers have on this. That idea is not at all changed, just the farm bills have been repealed, but the idea is still there. What are all the other demands that the farmers raising, and what are the issues going around Punjab regarding this farmers crisis and the agricultural
Yeah.
crisis, sir?
See, I am not a farm expert and can't go very minutely into the demands and the legitimacy or of those demands. So mainly they are MSP, minimum support price for all the products throughout India. MSP has been there in namesake, but there being no grain market structure all over India, only at few places like Punjab, Haryana, and Western UP. Those MSP has not been implemented. People are not particularly say no except Punjab or Haryana. Nobody is getting the MSP. Actually, it is in for namesake. So that's why these are the demands they are making. There are other demands like taking back the electricity bill and then MSP and most very important is the Essential Commodities Act, which which makes possible for anybody to hold all Indian grains can be holded by one person, and you can envisage the consequences of that. Those are demand. Coming back to Punjab, which people might be in the far south, where there might be a kind of surprise. Why is Punjab boiling over it more than others? I think this agitation is not, as far as Punjab is concerned, this agitation, this movement is not, though it has it expressed itself in form of anti-farm laws or against the farm laws. It's a bigger something bigger in the Punjabi minds at least, which is working. Uh, Punjab feels a very severe pain which has been caused to it, pains, I would say, which have been caused to it during the past 100 years. First of all, that Punjab got divided in 1947. See, that is a big blow to Punjab, and that Punjab was divided in spite of the fact that the then Punjab Assembly, which had a majority by the Unionist Party, and Hizrat Khan Tiwana was the Chief Minister, Sir Hizrat Khan Tiwana. So that assembly passed a resolution twice that that assembly didn't want to divide Punjab. In spite of that, Punjab was divided. So that decision by the Punjab assembly should have been honored. And the several people who are responsible for that, I will not go into even the Sikh leadership and Punjab leadership is equally responsible for that in a way. Uh, and then after that, what happened? See, Punjab has been. It was in 1928 or 29 that Lahore session that Congress passed a resolution that after independence, the India will be organized uh, on linguistic basis. We will have states with capital S. No, but what does mean state by capital S? That means a region with autonomy, a sovereign region, isn't it? That is the word which has been used in the constitution for states. It is a state with the capital S, a kind of sovereign entity. So, but then after independence, Punjab linguistic grind. No Punjab state was given, and has been struggles and long agitation, and it was conceded only in 1966. I mean, then it was bifurcated in a way which was very unfair to Punjab. A number of Punjabi areas were kept left out of Punjabi speaking areas. Even a full-fledged Punjab dialect like Dogri, which no linguist in the world considers Dogri a separate language, but it was recognized as a separate language, and it is one of the 22 scheduled languages now. So Dogri and Punjabi dialect was made recognized as a full-fledged language, and those areas, this Jammu up to Jammu, they were taken away from Punjab. So that kind of bifurcation also, it was very painful for Punjab. Some areas went to Haryana, even Punjabi speaking areas. And then what happened during 80, you all know what happened during that whole, they call it Khalistani movement or terrorist movement or extremist movement, whatever names have been given, you know. See, it was a kind of mischief uh, from the Indian state, I would say, which was then being led or ruled by the Congress party. And the cost we have paid for that, even the economic cost and the all social, educational, development cost of that phase cannot be counted. And then there was attack on Harmandir Sahib, the holiest of six shrines, holy six shrines, not holiest, I should say. And then what happened in the Delhi genocide, the massacre in 1984. And all these things have a kind of created an anger, which is justifiable anger in Punjab, and that gets expressed in various ways. This time, it got expressed in the form of this form laws, anti-form laws agitation. But I think until and unless that question is not addressed, which we generally say define as the federal question, the states' rights question, the center-state relations question, we will keep having uh, uh, we'll keep having a kind of say these absurdities, let us say, or agitations or movements, whatever we may call, and that is the question which Indian Union need to address, and we all need to address that India is a multinational country, and uh, lots of assurances and were given, written or unwritten assurances during the freedom struggle, but all those assurances have been broken. In what the 1950 constitution, 1952 constitution gave to Indian state, all those rights even are taken away. For example, education was a state subject. Now it is on the concurrent list. Not only concurrent list, it's now all education is being controlled by the union government of India, not by the states. And then agriculture again, they are starting differing in this law and order. This subject of law and order was a state subject. It still remains to be state subject on constitutional grounds. But the the provisions like NIA, AFSPA, and all these acts, they give such an overriding power to the union government that they can do away with the state authority. So, for example, anybody can come from Delhi and arrest anybody in Punjab, and Punjab government doesn't cannot stop that arrest. So this is what is happening. Actually, the 1952 constitution also did not give sufficient powers to the states which they needed, required, and justified. And a kind of semi-autonomous sort of feeling all states should have had. But whatever that, even those were not sufficient. Whatever was given in 1952 constitution, that is almost taken away. You know, the northeast, most of the northeastern states, most part of northeast under AFSPA. But AFSPA is a kind of military rule. You know, anybody can be arrested without producing him in the court for 2 years, kept under arrest. So that those are bigger questions which India needs to address too, and we must address. Only then we will have a very a kind of peaceful and a peaceful atmosphere and situation in which we can grow, we can develop, we can make progress. Otherwise, all these we call reasons or nationalities or linguistic groups or racial groups or whatever name we may give to them, they have their own aspirations and they should have their aspirations. Those aspirations are not properly met. That's why we are a consensus was created in the freedom struggle, and but that consensus is broken. That the freedom struggle brought us together. A unity amongst Indian people, different Indian people, was created. But now, with the passage of time, that kind of consensus is broken more by the Union Government of India or Indian state, I would say. So that consensus had to be restored and the consensus had to arrive at. So even that consensus are not sufficient. That's what I would like to say. That's more important aspect of the farm laws, that a union encroaching union government, Indian Union encroaching upon the rights of the states, and with development, with the education, with all kinds of say developments, which is a natural process, people start having more aspiration. Rather, how many Indian languages have died? I think about 100 Indian languages have died post independence, and there are another 100 which are on verge of death. And see, then people start asking what we got by freedom. If our language a language dies, that means people die. The language is your existence. It's a kind of symbol of your existence, and it has no domain of life which is free of language. So in each human domain, language permeates each human domain. So that's why we in India we need to address these questions. Otherwise, we are going to have more and more say issues, say political, I would say, upsurges, which will find little difficult to tackle if we don't tackle them in time and make proper provisions which are needed. And particularly, we need to have a genuinely federal structure. Only then India can sail along very peacefully and in a way where a good progress can be made.
You have explained what is the logics behind the protest and what are all the issues going around. Particularly now, the Congress party is suffocating in the Punjab, and they have changed their chief minister, they have changed their Congress party leader, and the previous chief minister is running a separate party now, and he is said to be a B team set up by BJP. What is the internal politics that is going in Punjab, and what will be the future of this situation?
Yeah, that's interesting question. Yes, see, what Congress party is doing in Punjab, at least for the past few weeks, and what kind of statements, utterances they are making. They condone, they are kind of, say, evidence, proof what I have been saying to you. In Punjab, now the Congress party looks more like a regional party in the political sense, not in the, I would say all the trends is made by the sea. They have passed a bill, they have passed a resolution in the assembly questioning union government decision to extend that BSF area up to 50 kilometers. So this kind of resolutions or this kind of steps we would never have expected or even say uh, from the Congress party, which itself has been encroaching for the states' rights. But now, for survival, that itself shows how this regional say aspirations have grown and how deepened they are and how deep they are. So Congress is behaving like a somewhat like a regional party in Punjab, and I think since most of the political parties have lost their say faith. People have lost faith in the most of the political parties during the past 30, 40. The way things have gone during the past 30, 40 years. So Congress has gained. I think the Congress has become a little stronger with this change of the chief minister and the kind of politics they are doing, the kind of statement as the utterances they are making, political statements they are making. It has given them some strength.
Punjab issue nationally alarmed that. Prime Minister Modi can be brought down and he can be made answerable to people, and it has given a hope to all the opposition parties. But in this particular issue and in this particular crisis situation, what is the need of the hour? Because everywhere the Congress party is started to behave like a regional party. In Tamil Nadu, they have been adapting what Periyar said and what DMK is saying. In Punjab, they have been adapting what the farmers are being said. In other state also, the Congress party is behaving like a regional party as at all. But the BJP has its own agenda and own narration, which is set by the Delhi and Nagpur pattern. How we are going to
Actually,
counter that, and who is going to capitalize the agitation made by the farmers, made by Tamil Nadu people, made by some other states? Who is going to capitalize that? If no one is going to capitalize, BJP is going to be the single largest party among India.
that's right, yeah. And I'll come back to BJP. First thing is that what we need to think upon is and address to is that a party or a combination which secures some 40% of Indian votes can bulldoze all political processes. That is very serious. That merely with the 40% vote, you can gain a majority in parliament and then you can do whatever you want. That needs to be changed. We need to have a electoral system where such kind of a minority government. I call in India there has always been a dictatorship of the minority. They say that minorities are being appeased, but I would say there always has been a dictatorship of minority in India. Rarely any party got more than 50% votes, popular votes in the say parliamentary elections. So any party which doesn't get 50% votes in the parliamentary elections and then have power at the center and does whatever it wants, that's the kind of dictatorship of the minority. So we need some constitutional provisions that such a minority vote with minority support from the minority vote, so no political power or party could bulldoze the political processes. And for that, we need to have a proportional representation. That's the only way. Secondly, we need to have see. It's like it, in one way it is a dictatorship of the minority. In other way, there is a dictatorship of majorities in the a majority in a way that the bigger states are more parliament members, and then they can have their say and they can have their way they want. So we need some constitutional check for that, and for that, what is required is all states should have equal representation in the Rajya Sabha. All states should have equal representation in the Rajya Sabha. So that way, if any party which any state which is bigger has a more members in the parliament will not be able to bulldoze others, will not be have to have its dictatorial ways over others. That's what we need to do. As for BJP, I have what they preach and what ideology they have and what they have been doing. It's all clear to them. But I have one other hunch as well. I think BJP has a very a conception of India. I would say school book conception of India, bookish conception of India. And bookish conception is what is being taught, what India is, and what India has been, and what India they want to make. That's what being taught in the books. That is not the India which India actually is. India is not what India is being say portrayed in the NCRT books or CBSE books. India is a different. So most of the BJP kind of who are more say little fanatic or more radical, I would say, they have a bookish sort of understanding of India. I think they will learn with the time. They will learn with the time. Then when they confront India, now they are in power for past 7 years, uh, and they have been in power in several states, but at the center now they are confronting India. They are seeing what India is, and I hope that even the BJP people learn from it what India is and have a proper conception of India. And if they are in power, to lead India in a proper way. Everybody has right to be in power, and say we are a democracy. Whoever gets majority or popular vote, they have the right to rule. They have the right to form government and run a government. I would say, if not rule. So I think BJP rank and file will also learn something from it, what actually India is, and I hope that they should change if they want to remain relevant. If they don't change and they have the same old, very manufactured perception of India as a country, they will have difficulties. They themselves will have difficulties as well, and that is not good for any one of us.
What you have said is right. And regarding the proportional representation and the equal parliamentary rights for every state, the voice is being raised all around India, even from Tamil Nadu, West Bengal. There are some leaders who are claiming that rights and issues. So, how do you look about the other leaders of opposition around India, like M.K. Stalin, Mamata Banerjee, Pinarayi Vijayan, and some other leaders? They are in an excess of opposing the BJP's authoritarian rule and authoritarian laws. They have been voicing out separately, but they have a common minimum agenda between them. What do you see about that? What's your
Yeah,
opinion on
that's
that?
what they need to do. Actually, these regional parties, they have not met people's aspirations. They came to power in different regions or places on the kind of regional agenda which people have, different people, nationalities in India have. But then they did not act the way they should have acted. See, they did not fulfill the people's aspirations. That's why they also started becoming irrelevant. See, that's why these regional parties started losing elections and Congress winning or BJP winning. There were two reasons for it. I think major reason was that the way Indian Union or the Indian government at the center treats the regional parties, and they have all the levers which to say to they have all the levers to say blackmail these leaders. See, sending in ED agents and then CBI agents and then inquiry and all that, and even governments can be governments can be make to fall by buying MLAs and all that, by splitting the parties and all that. I think they are afraid of more. Now, I am not the opinion that they don't have any commitment to the regional sentiments or regional aspirations. They have some commitment to that, but they are not brave enough. They are very scared of the consequences if they start making say utterances or statements which are not acceptable to the government at the center in Delhi. So that's why they don't go far enough which they need to, and that's why they also started becoming irrelevant. So if these regional parties do not stand up to people's aspirations, and then you will see emergence of other regional parties, and you have seen in Tamil Nadu. See, a large number of states now having more than one regional party. Eh? If they are having two, they can have three as well tomorrow, isn't it? So politics has to move the way in the direction which is required as per the geopolitics of India, or in political realities, socio-political realities of India as a country. So if politicians don't move in that directions, the people will search for new leaders and new leaders will emerge. And until and unless those aspirations are not met, we will have this kind of say kind of ups and downs, isn't it? So what these regional party leaders need to do is that they should form a common minimum agenda, particularly what rights states had and those has been taken away. they have those rights have to be restored first. First of all, they should be restored at least, isn't it? And then what more rights are needed for states? They should say ask for those rights, and they should say they should make a voice for those rights, and they should win those rights. Only then we will have a very atmosphere, which a kind of atmosphere we need for Indian progress.
I think you have explained what is India needing now and what is the need of the hour and what is going around. We have to wait and see what's happening because the BJP is in power and no repealing law has been passed in the parliament. The farmers are still protesting. Uh, no one would say what will happen. The farmers are still protesting, and they said we have to be addressed the farmer all the farmers issue have to be addressed and what is our concern is to be addressed. They have said that we have to wait and see what is happening. Thank you for sharing a lot of information about Punjab, about UP, about BJP, about the regional parties. It's nice talking to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for giving me that opportunity to talk to people. Thank you.